I would like to introduce a good friend of mine, Dave Himrod. He's the head of anti-fraud engineering at AppNexus, and he's going to be talking to us today about financial analysis tools.
Thank you, James. So I'm actually, if you guys don't know, the Bitcoin one's next door. So just make sure everyone knows what this is about. So yeah, as James said, I'm in charge of anti-fraud engineering at AppNexus. For those who don't know, AppNexus is one of the largest ad technology companies in the world. We provide technology to buyers and sellers of ad impressions. This happens about 85 billion times a day. There's individual auctions for each ad spot. This generates a lot of data, and we obviously have to analyze that data to make decisions about what to buy and also what is fraud. You guys, I'm sure, have heard about botnets, click fraud. I've been learning more about this in the last 6 months, and it's crazy. It's actually really, really fun data to go through. So I was thinking about this talk, and what am I going to talk about? I started my career in finance. Started as a programmer at Goldman, and then I worked as a hedge fund analyst for a levered municipal bond hedge fund in 2008, 2009. I started the job about 2 months before Lehman went under. That was also kind of fun because I didn't know what was going on, but it was like crazy and learning a lot. And I thought to myself, well, I don't want this talk to just be another IPython and pandas are amazing. I'm assuming everyone in this room already knows that and already believes that. So I thought to myself, well, what should this talk be about? And I thought, really, it's about the fundamentals of becoming a master quant. We always talk about the new sexy tools of data analysis, but we often don't talk about, well, what are these fundamentals of data analysis and what tools get you there, and how should you think about those tools? Full disclosure, I am not actually a quant. As I said, computer scientist. I know statistics very well. I've done a lot of data analysis. I kind of fell into this career. They put me in front of a terminal and a database, and it just made sense, and I loved it. So full disclosure, not a PhD. Won't be talking about, I don't know, name some algorithm. What's that? Your background is computer science? Yeah, my background is computer science. So where did I get this idea of fundamentals? Someone handed me this book. It's called Wooden on Leadership. I don't know anything about basketball either. I'm not even a sports guy. So I started reading this book, and he talks about the fundamentals. And it's almost ridiculous how much this guy is obsessed with fundamentals. Every year at the first practice of the year, he sits down and teaches his entire team how to put on their socks, and then how to tie their shoes. So I'm reading this book, and I'm like, who is this guy? It turns out he's actually the most winning coach of all time. He's been in 12 Final Fours. He's won 10 championships, 7 in a row. He's coached guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton. And I thought to myself, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. It seems like he does. And you read this book, and you're like, all of these things seem so obvious. Everything he's talking about, it almost seems annoying. But then you think about it, and you're like, wait, I do these wrong all of the time. I often ignore the fundamentals. And this is the first time I've given this talk, so I hope you guys can give me some feedback on this list. These things seem so obvious, but I've seen them done wrong so many times. For example, the first one, understand your problem. Understand what business you're running and what your data actually means. I can't count the number of times someone has come up to me with a finished solution. And this goes for number 2, understand the data as well. And I go, well, did you include resold data in there? And they're like, what do you mean resold data? I'm like, well, resold data is completely different than managed data. I know that doesn't make sense to any of you right now, but they are so convinced that they have the right answer, but they didn't understand the business problem they were trying to solve in the first place. Doesn't matter how good your math is. If you don't understand your business, you will solve the wrong problem. It'll be sexy math, but be worthless. I think the second one is the same kind of thing. Understand your data. So what is in your data set and what is not? I'll talk a little bit about feeling your data. Like, open up the text file and look at it. Don't just run an algorithm on it and have the output spit out something and go, cool, done, good. It doesn't work. It really doesn't work. The third thing is hunt down the data you need. Don't just model the data you have. Figure out what you need and figure out how to get it. And when I talk about tools, this is a very important thing because we don't always have the luxury of having the data we need in a place that we know how to manipulate it. If you don't know how to use a certain database and that's where your data is, you got to learn it. And that's a very important point. And the last part is turn your insights into actions quickly and then iterate. If you spend 6 months to do something so that you can finally use it, I question what you've been doing in that 6 months. It's possible there are very hard problems that take a long time, but often it's the simple things that lead to actions that give you the next set of insights that lead to the really, really big idea. So have a bias towards taking some actions, albeit small at times, with the idea that you're going to learn something else. Don't wait for perfection, because often you'll end up back at number one. You didn't understand the problem, you didn't understand your business, and you didn't actually understand what's in your data. Take some small risks, understand more, and iterate, and you will be in a good spot. So what are these fundamental tools? I think everyone has their opinion. Obviously, this room is a big Python room. I'm a big Python guy. But I think the most important part of tools is choose a broad tool set. As I said before, you don't always have the luxury of it being in a database that you happen to understand, or it being in a file format that you're used to, or that you even can access it programmatically. You might have to type it in yourself. It can get kind of weird. Use the right tool for the job. So just because you know Python doesn't mean it's the right tool for every single job. It is a very, very flexible tool, and it allows you to do many things. But it might not always be the right one. So be open to the fact that maybe for a certain task you have to do other things. And continue to master these skills. A lot of people, they learn enough of a certain tool set and they don't go to the next level, and they're missing out. And it's not that you won't get far doing that. You will get very far scratching the surface. But these things are becoming ubiquitous. Other people will leapfrog you in your career. So let's go over some important tools. Some of these are going to be like, really? You're talking about Excel at a Python conference? Don't underestimate Excel. This is a financial room. The financial world is run on Excel. When I was at Citi, the US government had to do an audit of all of Citi's assets. In order to do that, they emailed me at my hedge fund desk and said, can you please email me an Excel of all the trades you guys have outstanding? And I thought to myself, you've got to be kidding me. No, they're not kidding. It has many merits. I think a lot of times we look down at Excel. Unless you're on Mac, which has no merits. Mac Excel is worthless, and I'm just going to call it how it is. But when I was at that hedge fund, our entire trading dashboard was this hacked together Excel VBA thing. It was maintained by one person, and it worked, and it had real-time Bloomberg feeds, and it had a whole history of all the trades we made. It was exactly what we needed for the job, but if you had added one more person on there to maintain it, it would have been worthless. So it's very powerful. It does have its limits, but make sure you understand it. And I would show you some stuff in Excel, but I'm on a Mac, so I'm not going to be able to show you anything cool anyways. SQL. I think SQL is one of the most important tools anybody doing data analysis should understand. Number one, it's ubiquitous. There isn't a database out there that I know of that's worth anything that doesn't have some ability to do SQL. And I would put Pig as in its same vein, right? It's generally how to manipulate data. It gives you access to big data solutions. Pandas is awesome, but it only fits in RAM on your computer. Your only option is to get more RAM on your computer. That is it. And if anybody's ever swapped while trying to load data into pandas, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It just, nothing will happen. So the other thing is, a lot of big data is a farce. All you can do with big data is count it. And SQL is really good at counting stuff. It's amazing at counting things. And you want to turn that into the, I've been trying to coin this term forever, medium data, that you can actually do some, that you can actually do some data analysis on. You can play with the data and understand it. You grab a sample out of your database and start playing with it. And then when you want to do that algorithm at large scales, you should look into things like MapReduce, which you can do with Python as well. But if we're talking about quantitative analysis and trying to understand the problem, just take it out of the database and play with it. But do some ETL in the meantime. And it goes back to one of the things. You got to hunt for your data. The idea that data is going to be centralized for you in one database doesn't really exist at a big company. We run MySQL, Postgres, Vertica. We were running Netezza for a while. We have a giant Hadoop cluster. In order for you to make sense of your data and make it useful, you have to grab it from where it is and put it together. And that's really the strength of things like pandas. Allows you to run SQL over here, grab some files here, put it together, and you're great. Your text editor. You spend a lot of time writing code, and you should really pick a text editor and master it. There is nothing more annoying to me than watching someone who is terribly slow write code. So just to show you a few things, I'm a Vim guy. I don't have any weird preferences, one versus the other, right? But let's say, so where did Quant talk? Vim's got a lot. It's got shortcuts for literally everything. There's also nice little snippets that you can do. So here's my class, and I can go through this and add stuff and do whatever. And they have this for everything, right? Sublime Text, Text Wrangler probably has it. Emacs has very similar things. And there's so many shortcuts in Vim that you can spend your entire life trying to learn them. I don't suggest doing that because that's a waste of time. But become good at these things, and you will be much more efficient and much faster. Unix and Bash. There's probably some stuff you can do with Windows, but I'm not a huge Windows fan. But understand the basic commands in Unix and Bash, right? How to look through files, you can't always control the format it's in. Write little helper functions. So I do a lot of data analysis to find fraud, and one of the most helpful yet not helpful things is that, oh, Excel crashed again, really? Oh my God. Oh man. Yes, open all of these files. Yeah, Jesus. All right, maybe it's my fault. I have too many open. All right, so a lot of times people just send me these Excel files. Hey, we found these like tags. A tag in our world is how you identify a source of inventory. And they just send it to me like, hey, what are these things? So one of the things I often do is I'll just throw it into my, command line, and then the internet won't work. Paste it. All right, forget it. All right, so just do it locally. Why is this not? And one thing you need to do is turn that into a CSV. So use a command like tr and replace all the new lines with commas, right? And if I do that on here, I wrote a little function where I can get now the tag info. And this went out to the database, it ripped the tag info, and I can look at it. And I remember I talked about fueling the data. You'll notice a pattern here. A lot of these are called ad peak. Ad peak is not the best company in the world. They do a lot of online advertising fraud. Probably shouldn't have said that in front of the camera. Great. Scratch that. Probably shouldn't have shown that data in general, but whatever. And I think one of the last things, shortcuts. There is a shortcut for literally everything. If you guys were noticing how I was going between windows, copy, pasty here, even your email, right? You want a new, in mine it's you hit N, new, right? R is reply, A is reply all, control, return is send email. I actually, with new analysts and quants, I asked them to ban their mouse. So just put away your mouse for as much as possible and do as much as you can without your mouse. And just learn new things. So tmux is another tool I use a lot. There's two reasons to use a tool like tmux. One, it's got a shortcut for everything. So even on my local box, I'll open tmux and I can, split windows, create tabs, split between tabs, do all sorts of fun stuff. Shortcut heaven on terminal. The other really cool thing about tmux is I'm on my one of my cloud boxes right here. So one thing that happens a lot is your internet will disconnect. You'll disconnect from this session. You will lose everything you were working on. tmux allows you to attach back to what you were working on before, and then I can then I can exit this and say tmux detach. I'm back here. I can exit. I can go back right into it. And I know for people doing analysis, that's really annoying. Every time you go home, I take my computer from work back home to do more work because why not? I have to start back again. I got to open all my editors. I got to open my IPython session. I now have to pull all that data back into memory. I've got to do all of the commands that I had done before and sort of remember that state that I was at. tmux just allows you to just, all right, I'm gone. I'm going to go home, come back, attach, and you're right where you were before. So there's a lot of tools like that. Control R is your friend. For anyone, Control R, look for, I don't know, when was the last time I did grep? I grepped pool for some reason. Hit Control R again, and I can see I was looking for a box, R Woodard, on our hosts files. So there's literally a shortcut for everything. It seems weird to me, or to you probably, that I'm sitting here talking about shortcuts. If you get fast enough, you will save so much time that you literally will be two people. I think. Literally be two people. You get paid, well, depends where you work. So what are the Python fundamentals? I put basic and with basic in italics. I personally believe you shouldn't obsess about style, but you should at least follow like the guidelines and package structure. And I can show you. I'm going to show you some bad stuff and then some it's fine, it's pretty good. Object-oriented programming and testing. Don't take my word for it. If any of you have ever worked with Wes McKinney, the godfather of pandas or whatever you want to talk to him, he is obsessed with this. The reason I actually got into Python and pandas was Wes was our consultant, and he would just tear apart our code. And he's obsessed with testing. So the people who are very good, the masters, concentrate so much on this, and it saves them time in the long run. Takes a long time to learn it, saves them time in the long run. A really good resource is this guy, Jeff Knupp. He wrote a book, and he also writes a blog about idiomatic Python. I think he thinks about it very well. His basic rule of thumb is, why do something your own weird way when there's already a way to do it that everyone accepts? And I buy that. I was going to go in. Let me show you some code. I don't have that much more time, but so let me show you something that probably I think we can arguably all say is not that great. So if I go into, so one, look at all of these files. I have no idea what these files do. They're all sitting there. And then, oh, by the way, here's all their legacy code. He just put it in another folder and just was like, okay, it's over there, even though this is in Git. And then, we can look at like a file, which is one of this. So, 80 character rule, right? It's breaking that. But then you get down here, this is all one function. 2 spaces instead of 4. It's keep going. This is one function. It like hurts the eyes, just burns. So you can compare that to something like, this is something someone on my team just wrote. This is not an engineer who wrote this as well. He's technical guy-ish, but he's more of an analyst. He's got classes. The functions are all 10, 20 lines. The functions tell you what it's going to do. It's going to get the member names. And then, at the bottom, there's a short main function that really makes sense. And when you see this type of code, you appreciate it. And if you've ever had to debug someone else's code that was not yours, you want to give him a hug and just say, thank you for writing the code. So great. All right. Ooh, what did I just do? That was not a shortcut. Or it was, I just didn't know what it was. And of course, pandas, IPython, they're amazing. They really take care of 3 of the 4 fundamentals. They will not teach you about your business and what your business means. I have 2 minutes. But they will let you feel your data, grab it where you need, and make actionable quick insights. The takeaway is these will become table stakes. All right? You will not, you're going to go up against a job. Everybody will have this. What else can you bring to the table? So, these are extremely important, and I believe firmly that why hire 2 or 3 people when you can hire 1 person that can do all of these things? It's not true today. It will be true in the next 5, 10 years. 3 to 5. I don't know. I just made a number up. I have 2 minutes for questions.
Can you say more about TMUX?
So yeah, TMUX it's terminal multiplexer. That's what it stands for. It's awesome. I suggest checking it out. It's a little, the documentation is not great, but you can find, it's becoming very popular.
Why do you like TMUX better than Screen?
Screen is just really old and doesn't have some of the newer features. I have used Screen. Screen's great too. Does the same thing. TMUX has got a little bit better. It's a little bit better. Yeah.
How do you get analysts interested in good coding habits and good
Practice. I should have shown some of my early code. It was gross.
No,
I'm embarrassed by it. Oh, how do you get them interested? I think you just have to prove that it will pay off over time, and then it makes things easier. That's really what did it for me. Is he showed me how to do it better, and I was like, I don't know why I would do it any other way. It's not harder. It doesn't take longer. I now understand my code and can explain it to other people more. But I think showing is really the only way to do it.
What do you think is more effective, having someone with a coding background doing analysis, or reverse, or more analysis data background, getting coder? End result, who's usually the stronger candidate?
I think it depends on the person. I truly believe that you cannot replace people who are passionate and that will work hard to learn. And basically my slides were like, learn new stuff, learn as much as you can. The same holds true of math. You can take a really good programmer and he can learn math if he really wants to. And often they're on another level if they do that. I have seen sometimes that like really mathy people who don't want to learn how to code, they're just not going to do it. I don't think it's anything about them that is like fundamentally wrong. I just don't think they're really that interested in it. So I think if you can become passionate about it and you just take a general interest in it, you will succeed if you follow the fundamentals. Coach Wooden. Yeah.
Since you're still into shortcuts, do you know any packages, or do you use any packages to use like browsers and all that, like navigate links and all?
No, I don't. There is one. There's a Vim plugin for Chrome, which is interesting. This thing is called Launch Bar. There's a few of these in Mac. I really like this. So this just lets me go like open PowerPoint, and if you spell it right, it'll come up. It also lets you, hey, what is that? And it just pops up. So quick math on the screen. You're probably all like, why did you need to do that? That seems trivial, but whatever. Any other questions? Yeah.
The pipeline, have you looked into any other pipeline IDs or like development?
A lot of people at work use PyCharms. I think that's great. Again, for me, as far as editors and all that go, there's a lot of good ones. Pick one that makes sense to you, that you like, and just learn as much as possible about it. I have Eclipse open right here. I don't exactly love Eclipse, but you got to learn the shortcuts. You got to learn how to do it correctly. Anything else? Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.